So, I'd just moved into this dusty little apartment on the east side. It was nothing fancy, cracked walls, loud pipes that groaned like an old man, and neighbors who absolutely minded their own damn business, which, honestly, was kinda perfect. Or so I thought. The place had a weird vibe from the start, like the air was heavier inside than out. But I chalked it up to being an old building. I was just happy to have a place of my own, away from roommates and family drama. The first week was fine. I unpacked, set up my Wi-Fi, and established a pretty solid routine of work, takeout, and binge-watching whatever was new on Netflix. Life was simple, uncomplicated. Then came Wednesday. I'm sprawled on my beat-up couch, half asleep, with some documentary about deep-sea creatures droning on in the background. The apartment is quiet except for the hum of the old refrigerator and the distant sound of city traffic. It's late, probably close to 2 in the morning. That's when I hear it. K-N-O-C-K. Knock. K-N-O-C-K. Real slow. Real, intentional. Not like a delivery guy in a hurry or a drunk neighbor. This was deliberate. Like somebody wanted me to know they were there. It was heavy. Each knock echoing in the dead quiet of my apartment. I muted the TV, and my heart started doing this little tap dance against my ribs. Who would be knocking at this hour? I wasn't expecting anyone. I tiptoed to the door, my bare feet cold on the cheap linoleum floor. My first thought was maybe it asked some guy from the bar downstairs who got the wrong apartment. Happens. Right. I pressed my eye to the peephole, expecting to see a swaying silhouette or a confused face, but there was nothing. The hallway was completely empty. Just that single, flickering fluorescent light at the far end, casting long, dancing shadows. It hummed and buzzed, like it was trying to warn me about something. I stood there for a full minute, just staring, my breath fogging up the little glass lens. Nothing. I unlocked the deadbolt, hesitated for a second, then told myself to stop being a wuss. I opened the door just a crack. The hallway was silent, empty, and smelled faintly of dust and old carpet. I stepped back inside, locked the door, and told myself, nah, bro, not tonight. It was probably just the pipes. Old buildings make weird noises. I went back to the couch, but I couldn't get back to sleep. Every little creak from the floorboards made me jump. The next night, I was determined to just ignore it. I put on headphones, cranked up some music, and tried to focus on a book. But right on schedule, like some kind of messed up alarm clock, the feeling started. The air in the apartment got cold. I could feel the hairs on my arms stand up before I even heard it. I pulled my headphones off, and there it was. Knock. K-N-O-C-K. K-N-O-C-K. Same time, same slow, deliberate rhythm. But this time, the knocks were soft. It wasn't the sound of knuckles. It was more of a scraping, dragging sound, like someone was running their fingernails down the wood. My blood ran cold. I couldn't just ignore this. It was too specific, too weird. Again, I went to the door, my heart pounding in my ears. I looked through the peephole, fully expecting to see nothing again. And I was right. The hallway was empty, deserted. But this time was different. A strange coldness was leaking through the peephole, chilling my eye. It felt like someone was on the other side, breathing against the door, an icy, stale breath that carried a scent I couldn't place. Like damp earth and decay. I stumbled back from the door, my own breath catching in my throat. This wasn't the pipes. This wasn't my imagination. Something was out there. Something wanted my attention. I spent the rest of the night with every light in the apartment on, sitting on my couch with a kitchen knife in my hand, just staring at the front door until the sun came up. Night 3 rolls around, and I'm not even trying to sleep. I'm waiting. I made a pot of the strongest coffee I could brew and sat in a chair facing the door. My eyes were glued to the clock on my phone. 1:58. 1:59. 2 o'clock. The minutes crawled by. At exactly 2:02 a.m., the entire apartment went dead quiet. The hum of the fridge stopped. The traffic outside seemed to fade away. It was a heavy, Suffocating silence. Then, I heard it. Not a knock. A whisper. It was so soft, I thought I might have imagined it. It was dry, raspy, like sandpaper sliding across old wood. It slithered through the crack under the door. The voice said 2 words. Let me. In my heart, damn near stopped. It felt like it had been squeezed by an icy hand. The voice was right there, just on the other side of that thin piece of wood. It wasn't shouting, it wasn't threatening, it was just asking. And that was somehow so much worse. I scrambled backward, knocking over my coffee cup. Hot coffee splashed across the floor, but I barely felt it. I backed away from the door like, oh hell no. Absolutely not. I crammed a towel under the door, as if that would do anything, and retreated to my bedroom. Locking that door too, I hid under my covers like a little kid, shaking until morning. The next day, I was a wreck. I couldn't focus at work. I kept seeing shadows in my peripheral vision and hearing faint whispers that weren't there. I had to do something, so I called my buddy, Jake. Classic Jake. He is the kind of guy who thinks every problem can be solved by either punching it or ignoring it. I told him the whole story, the knocking, the cold spot, the whisper. I was expecting some support, maybe for him to tell me to crash at his place. Instead, he just laughed. Bruh, it's probably some crackhead messing with the new guy. Just take a baseball bat, check the hallway, and stop being a wuss. Classic Jake. But as much as I hated to admit it, a small part of me hoped he was right. Maybe I was just overreacting. Maybe all I needed to do was confront it. So that night, I hyped myself up. I grabbed the heaviest mag light. I owned. It was basically a metal club end. I stood by the door, waiting. I wasn't going to wait for the knock. I was going to be proactive. At 1:55 a.m., I took a deep breath, unlocked the deadbolt, and threw the door open fast. The hallway wasn't empty. It was freezing, like walking into a meat locker. The air was thick and heavy, and my breath turned to fog. And halfway down the hall, under that flickering, buzzing light, there was a figure. Tall. Impossibly thin, just standing there, facing the wall at the end of the corridor. Not moving a muscle. Its clothes were dark and ragged, and it was so still it looked like a statue. My throat went dry. I tried to be brave, to channel my inner Jake. I whispered, "Yo, you good?" My voice was shaky, pathetic. There was no response. The figure just stood there, its back to me. I took a hesitant step into the hall, raising my flashlight. "Hey man, this isn't funny. You need a ... double quotes." Before I could finish, its neck snapped around. A wet, cracking sound echoed in the silent hall. Its head turned a full 180 degrees to face me, while its body remained perfectly still, facing the wall. Its eyes were hollow, black pits. Its mouth was stretched wide open in a silent scream, a gaping black hole that looked like it was trying to swallow the whole hallway. I didn't even scream. I couldn't. All the air left my lungs. I slammed my door so fast I almost broke the damn handle and fumbled with the locks, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I could still see that face burned into the back of my eyelids. That night, I waited, cowering in the corner of my living room, clutching the flashlight like a lifeline. I watched the clock. 2 a.m. came and went. Las 2:05, las 2:10. There was no knock, no whisper, just silence. And somehow, that was a million times worse. The anticipation was eating me alive. I started to think maybe, just maybe, I had scared it off. Maybe opening the door was the right move after all. Then, at exactly 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed on the floor next to me. A vibration that felt like an electric shock. Primera looked Don, an unknown number. A new text message. My hands trembled as I picked it up. The message had just 2 words. I'm inside. My breathing stopped. The world narrowed to a single point. I slowly, so slowly, lifted my head. My eyes scanned the dark corners of my own living room. And there he was, standing in the far corner, partially hidden by the shadows. To some, tall, thin figure from the hallway. His head was tilted at that same unnatural angle. Those hollow, black eyes were locked on mine. He hadn't moved. He was just there, watching me. Then he whispered the same words from the night before, the sound crawling across the room, wrapping around me like a cold fog. Let me in. And then everything just cut to black. The next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed. The lights were blindingly white. The air smelled of antiseptic, and there was a dull ache all over my body. A police officer was sitting in a chair by my bed. He told me I'd been there for 3 days. My neighbors had called the cops after hearing strange noises, and then nothing. They found me standing outside my own apartment door, barefoot and shirtless, in the freezing cold. I was just pointing at my own front door, repeating the same phrase over and over again. He wouldn't let me in. He wouldn't let me in. I had no memory of it, but that's not the creepiest part. The police, of course, launched an investigation. They checked the security footage from the camera in the hallway. They reviewed the tapes for all 4 nights, and what they found chilled me to the bone more than anything I experienced. There was never anyone knocking. Never a figure in the hallway. Never anyone entering my apartment. The footage was clear. It only showed one person. Me. Every night, at exactly 2:02 a.m. The camera showed me walking out of my apartment, standing in the empty hallway, and knocking on my own door. Then, on the last night, it just showed me standing outside, pointing for hours, until the police arrived. The thing I was trying to keep out was already inside. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a creepy apartment experience, let me know in the comments below. Stay safe out there, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more strange tales. See you next time.